Hey Lit class, this is your video for January 5th, 2021, our first video of 2021. So I want to remind you that your homework is to read Red Badge of Courage up through chapter 13. Okay, don't neglect to do this. Remember, if you're not getting it, if you are confused, I don't think this book is nearly as confusing as Mohicans was, but take a quick look at Spark Notes. Ooh, my pen looks bad. I have to find another pen. Spark Notes, Cliff Notes, olive.com, of course, or Schmoop. After you have read, you don't look at these in advance, you look at them after. Okay, I'm gonna grab my other pen, hold on. Okay, I'm back. That was so professional, wasn't it? Okay, so I'm just gonna talk for a second about this, about the Red Badge of Courage and what we're seeing in this book. Some things I want you to notice. Okay, so one of the main things we see is contrast. We see this amazing contrast between the soldiers who are enthusiastic and who are ready to get out there and fight in the battle and win the battle. And then we have, Henry, who is full of fear, and, he's already run away once and he just doesn't know what to do with himself. He's so afraid and so ashamed of being afraid. And one of the quotes in there is he says he thought he was the most utterly selfish man in existence. He couldn't believe these other guys just were ready to go into battle, and he had this huge inner conflict all the time. And he really, it's the conflict of his desire to be a hero, to be heroic, contrasted with his fear. And I don't know if I don't know if I'm going to talk about chapter 12 yet. We'll wait till Thursday when you have finished reading 13, so you will have read 12 at that point. But so we see these contrasts. We see the heroic versus the shameful, right? We see maintaining your life versus honor on the battlefield. We see the tattered man versus, unwounded Henry, right? They're walking together at one point, and this guy's got a head wound and another wound, and then the death of Jim and the incredible guilt that brings Henry. Hopefully that's not a spoiler for you. Okay, we kind of have Henry's fantasy of what war would be like contrasted with the horrible reality of what war really is. We have his immaturity and his insecurity that are completely contrasted by his desire to be a hero and to have that wound to prove that he is heroic. That would be proof of his courage. Okay, so that's kind of ironic. Okay, we're talking a second for about irony. Irony is when you kind of have these opposite things happening at the same time. So, Jim is so fearful, but he longs to be wounded. He's terrified of being wounded, but he longs to be wounded. That's irony, okay? And, the thing he's most afraid of really isn't anything other than being embarrassed. So he wants to be a hero and have, glory, but he's afraid of being embarrassed by his friends, that they'll say, don't pull a Jim, don't pull a Henry, which means, they start using his name as meaning you don't want to go into battle. He's afraid, he's terrified of being mocked. But what he wants is honor and courage, okay? I don't want it, but I want it. I want it, but I don't want it. We have this desperate desire, and yet we have terror at actually getting what we want, all right? And we're going to see a big change that's going to come up as we move forward in both the situation of the soldiers that Henry knows and in Henry's own situation. So I've got some videos for you to watch that are poetry again, because we're doing poetry all the way through the end of January. And so be prepared. We're going to actually be writing some poetry pretty soon. So I want you to start thinking about, because these poems we're going to kind of take some of this reflection out of Red Badge of Courage and these contrasts and this irony of, you know, the great and the weak and the honorable and the shameful. And we're going to write some poems about that. So I've given you some poems that to read that are a little more serious than some of the other ones. And I also want you to think about, you know, what are your favorite songs? We talked about this last time. What are your, before break? What are your favorite songs? And I want you to think about, oh, those are poems. Like, you know, Ring Around the Rosie is a poem, right? Ring around the rosy, pocket full of posy, ashes, ashes, we all fall down, right? It rhymes, it's short. Poetry doesn't have to be long. I mean, Walt Whitman wrote an entire book that is basically one poem called Leaves of Grass. But other poems are like limericks or, you know, little short poems. And so there's all kinds, and we want to just kind of appreciate poetry for what it is, whether we're poetic or not, whether we think poetically, we think about images of things, or we're more concrete and practical. So keep that in mind, watch the other videos, and I will see you right back here again on video. If the weather's better, I might get outside and do a video somewhere else that's other than just in my office. But it is nice to have a whiteboard, but in the meantime, have a good week. Read your book. You can also remember, if you're confused, SparkNotes, Cliff Notes, or schmoopall.com. You can go there. You can look at the summaries. But I don't think this book is as confusing. I hope not, since I don't get to talk to you in person. If you want to shoot me an email or a text and tell me what your opinion is about Red Badge of Courage, that would be fine. You know my email, I think. My numbers in the roster. Ask your parents. I'm not going to write it down right on this video because other people might see this video. So watch the videos and do what you got to do. And I will talk to you again on Thursday. Bye for now.